get to move on the ground. Here we go. Moving on the ground, moving on the ground. Hey, where'd everybody go? Oh, there you are. I'ma get to move on the ground. Here we go. Moving on the ground, moving on the ground. Hey, where'd everybody go? Oh, there you are. I'ma get to move on the ground. Here we go. Moving on the ground, moving on the ground. Hey, where'd everybody go? Oh, there you are.
Mario!
Podcast, all things Nintendo. Yeah!
welcome to the Nintopics podcast. I think I blew somebody's ear out with that. Welcome to the Nintopics podcast. It is a beautiful day, beautiful night, good for evening to talk about Nintendo news and the greatest topic of all, Nintendo Switch 2. I know you are all ready to hear about this topic and what's happening inside of Nintendo because we are in a transition year. And I think we are in one of the most exciting years when it comes to Nintendo and to be a Nintendo fan. So without further ado, let me introduce the All-Star cast today because we have an All-Star cast today of people, beautiful people that want to share their knowledge and their thoughts with you in regards to Nintendo Switch 2 and everything else inside the world of Nintendo, right? All right. Without further ado, Paul Gale Network. How you doing, Paul? What you've been playing lately?
Great, thanks. Let's see. What have I been playing lately? Well, two things, kind of going back and forth between Hogwarts Legacy because that's a pretty big game, and I've been having a good time with that. And then revisiting, because I never beat it back in the day, Biohazard or Resident Evil 7, which is pretty scary. It's like you got to be ready to play it, which means nighttime, lights off, make it a really bad situation for yourself, and then you're going to get the most out of it. So two very different experiences. Hogwarts Legacy is really fun and fantasy based, and Resident Evil 7 is totally opposite. And it's scary. I handle horror well. And I'm like, jeez.
Playing it in VR, right?
What's that?
Imagine playing it in VR with the PS2 VR thing, right?
Yeah. The only VR thing I have is the Nintendo Labo VR. But once in a while I get thinking like, I wouldn't mind a dedicated set like PlayStation VR 2 or an Oculus or something like that. But maybe one day.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to Joycey J. Hey, Joycey.
Hi. Hello. Came back to Earth from Hyrule just to visit, hang out at the podcast. Y'all know. Of course, still playing the same thing. I'm going through another round of Triangle Strategy. For the love of God, I cannot beat the game yet. So I still haven't gone through the final boss yet. So I'm working on that, trying to grind a little bit. Of course, get in my usual couple of Splatoon matches every few days. It's been an extremely busy week at work. And still making my way through Tears of the Kingdom extremely slowly. I think I picked up a rock and stared at it and marveled at said rock. Like, I didn't see this rock first playthrough. So, the usual.
There's always something good to find in Tears of the Kingdom. Like the second, I think I'm playing the third time around now, and I'm still not gonna get all the car rocks. I'm just gonna, okay.
I'm determined to find them just because then I know I've been every single place on the map. First playthrough, I just did whatever I wanted, but this one I'm like, I have a goal.
That's actually a good goal for that, finding Koroks. And right out to our guest, Andre Restart. I know Andre was with us back in season 2. He's back in season 3. What's up, Andre?
Hello. Thanks for having me, my friend. I am good. I'm excited to talk about Nintendo tonight, as I usually am every night and day and morning, just all the time.
And so
just message Andre with all your Nintendo everything thoughts.
Yeah, about Metroid. Andre. I think Andre has a life-size pillow. Samus Hunter. Is that what you had?
No.
No. I'm kidding. I'm just like the big one.
Although if I saw one, I would be tempted. I'll at least concede. I'll concede that much.
I would buy it. Why not? I mean, it's Samus.
You need to get that Samus Aran PVC statue from First Four Figures.
Yeah, that was
easy.
That's a little price.
Yeah.
What's this? You need that one that's smaller.
Yeah, it is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
We should get him one for his birthday.
I know someone who gets like 20% off on those.
And so Andre asked me, the name is Howdy Do.
Howdy do.
And so what have you been playing lately?
What I've been playing lately? I actually have been playing Golden Sun.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, it's pretty good. Glad they released it on NSO.
Is it which one are you playing?
The first one.
Oh, the first one?
And then I'll play the second one once I'm done. Yeah.
Cool.
I've never gotten to like play them from beginning to end, so it's cool that I have the first two already. And like it's interesting because as I'm playing them, I'm you know, like obviously they're Game Boy Advance games, but I feel like for the time when you're playing them, you're like, whoa, these are some like really ambitious Game Boy Advance games, right? Because like they kind of simulate like 3D visuals with the fights. It's still 2D sprites as Game Boy Advance, but it looks really cool. The music is just constant bangers the entire time.
Yeah.
The story, I mean, at least so far, it feels kind of deep and nuanced. And there's even like a little bit of like Zelda-esque like dungeon crawling as well. So like it's like almost like a fusion. I mean, to my understanding so far, right, and from what I've heard of the series over the years, it's like a fusion of like old school kind of 2D Zelda, but also JRPGs. I mean, it is a JRPG technically, right? But it has a little bit of its own thing going on as well, and it's a really cool series. And so I'm glad that we at least have them on NSO, and you know, on NSO, like they are upscaled in the HD, and I mean, I like playing it on my big screen TV. Like it's nice, even if it is a Game Boy Advance game. It feels good.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And of course, guess what? We have another special guest here with us. His name is Mr. Zach Hendricks. Wait, I smell champion. So I'm gonna let Zach tell you a little bit about himself and his background, because you guys are gonna love this. So go ahead, Zach, take it away, and then after that, you can go ahead and let us know what you've been playing lately as well. Go ahead.
Sure thing. Oh, if I knew I was going to be telling the story, I would have had my props ready. But no. So hi, my name is Zach. I'm super excited to be here. Mike reached out to me a while ago, and holiday seasons are crazy and stuff, and we've both been looking forward to it. So first of all, Mike, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, welcome.
But so in 2010, Nintendo hosted a competition called the Wii Games Summer 2010 National Championships. It was their first competition since Power Fest 94, and potentially the biggest competition they've ever put on to this day. I say potentially because they don't release numbers. And so I've had conversations with Thor and some of the other people from the 90s World Championships, kind of like about our frustrations of how like we want to know more about this stuff, because like it's our life, you know, like it's just cool. And so, yeah, me and my friend Frank, best friend since preschool, shout out Frank.
Awesome.
We were at Six Flags Great America, and every single Six Flags location, and then like malls and other high traffic areas across the country, Nintendo had all these Wiis set up for 5 weeks, and you could play different Wii games, and they would aggregate your score, and after 5 weeks, the best team from each category would get flown out to LA to play against the best teams from all the other states. And so me and my friend Frank were representing the teen category for Illinois, and we ended up taking gold and becoming Nintendo national champions.
Woo.
And we were in USA Today and on ESPN, and there was the Nintendo Power. I was like, which one am I forgetting? But that was just so cool, especially too, like as a teenager who was a big nerd and just loved gaming, and it was just my favorite thing. I was already chasing world records in Mario Kart at the time, and so like it was unreal to me. Like in my head, it was a million times bigger than it actually was. You know, it was like, this is the coolest thing in the world. And so, that kind of set my whole life on a trajectory one way or another, whether it's becoming a special guest at something and then making a Twitter because I'm a special guest at something and they want to talk to me on Twitter. And then that somehow leads to career opportunities, to becoming a voice actor. Every single thing that I'm doing now, and I do media and voiceover. I run the world's biggest voiceover competition. We cast people in anime and video games. And the biggest thing we've cast someone in is My Hero Academia. And it's just crazy to me. Like it's so crazy that I can trace every single thing that I'm doing now back to Nintendo. Like Nintendo is literally responsible for me living my dreams.
That's awesome. That's crazy. And guys, we have a champion on the cast today. You can ask him questions, ask for autographs and all that stuff at the end of the podcast. If you have any questions, write them down in the chat and we'll get them later. So yes, guys, that is the crew for today. And the topic we have today has to do with certain things that happen behind the scenes. And we recently had the developers conference, right? What's the actual name of it?
Game Developers Conference.
GDC. GDC, yeah. And so they actually had like this a lot of polls they put out there, right, in regards to Nintendo and other things as well. And so it's interesting to know what happened in this. I want to let Andre restart, kind of give us a recap of this upcoming topic, because it's
Sure.
Go ahead, bud.
No, yeah, for sure. No, I was checking just kind of like the little bullets you were kind of suggesting we should maybe kind of talk about tonight. And I mean it's I guess it's basically kind of recapping what I talked about in my video today, right? So there's a variety of things, right? But specifically with what you're alluding to, it's the GDC Game Developers Conference happens every year. It's a conference where a whole bunch of developers show up and talk and communicate about what's going on in the industry, and there's an exchange of ideas and all of that. It's exciting times for developers. But there's a survey that they do every time, right? And so there's a variety of questions that are asked. But the question that's been reported by, for example, Video Games Chronicle, one of the more reputable news sites out there for gaming, is this survey that asks the developers at GDC, which platforms are you developing your current project for? And so there's a variety of options. You have PC, PS5, Xbox Series, but also smaller, lesser known things as well, like web browsers, VR headsets, Macs. You have Android, iOS. There's a whole bunch of stuff, right? But what stuck out to people is that Nintendo Switch is just at 18%, right? But they actually 8% said Nintendo Switch successor. And so there was over 3,000 people or developers that were part of this survey. In other words, 8% of over 3,000 is over 200. There are over 200 developers, thanks to this survey, that have now confirmed that their current projects are for the Nintendo Switch successor. In other words, we have over 200 games in development for Nintendo Switch 2. And so that's very exciting. But it goes beyond that, right? Like that's just like the surface level. There's a little bit more to that. So another thing that was noted by the VGC article is that 32% of developers said in a survey that they are interested in developing for Nintendo Switch, which is the third highest, third only to PlayStation 5 and PC. And so what you may notice is, well, where's Xbox? Xbox is behind that, and that's a currently available platform. But something else to take note on top of that is that Nintendo Switch 2 has not been announced yet. And many developers are under NDA, non-disclosure agreements. They're they're legally binded to not say anything. And so even though this survey is anonymous, we don't know how many, right? But it's been noted that certain developers may feel dissuaded from even taking part in the survey or speaking truth on what they're working on because of those NDAs. So that 8% number may be even greater.
Yeah.
And so just kind of keep that in mind, right? Because that's the initial kind of report. What was interesting, right? Nintendo Prime actually pointed this out, and I mentioned in my video today, and it kind of adds a little bit more context to what we're hearing here, because some people might see the 8% and think, oh, that's a measly number. That means, maybe developers are starting to work on Switch 2 now, but we're still a ways off. History suggests otherwise, because we actually have a GDC survey back from 2017. So basically the same survey, but back when the Nintendo Switch launched, and the Nintendo Switch launched March 3rd, so early in the year, right? So the Switch 2, if it's coming out in the second half, most likely, right? So it's even further out for that particular year. But back then, only 3% of developers said they had a current project in development for Nintendo Switch. So Switch was already announced. We already knew about Nintendo Switch when the survey took place back in 2017. Switch 2 hasn't been announced, and 8% are saying they're working on a current project. So that suggests that there's a lot more going on for Switch 2 right now than there was for Switch back in the day. And here's another little interesting thing. So the survey that took place back in 2020, this is the year that PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series came out.
Yeah.
There was already more known about those systems than, say, the Switch 2 publicly, right? But 11% of developers said they were working on PS5 back in 2020 before that system came out, and 9% of developers said they were working on Project Scarlet, which was Xbox Series X back then as well. So 11 and 9% isn't too far off from the Switch 2's 8%, right? And so all of this is implying a couple things. One, there's a lot of development actually going on for Switch 2 right now, right? And so that there's a lot of games, and so it seems to really be strengthening the argument that Switch 2 is indeed coming out this year. And then the other big point is that there's more developers interested in Switch 2 compared to the interest in Switch 1 back in the day. And when you account for non-disclosure agreements, it may be even more significant than we realize. And basically what that tells us is that there's a lot of games that are coming to Nintendo Switch 2, and that bodes really well. A lot of third-party games. And so that's very exciting, right? So we don't know for sure when things are going to happen, but it's all boding well for a 2024 launch and for Switch 2 just overall being more welcoming to developers and having a lot of games coming to the system. And so that's kind of like, that's like the basic story there. There's other little things we can get to, but we could probably chew on that for a little bit.
Yeah. That's the first story, the first part of the story, and I think it's incredible. I think that having so many developers already on board and excited about the Switch says a lot. I mean, they have the dev kits on their hands. They have something they're working with, and for them to be this excited, for the system, that makes me believe the system might be more powerful than we think. Right? It might have something else that we have yet to mention on our videos that they're very excited about, and so it opens the door for other like Andre say, other third party companies to come in over, bring their games, even games that are already out can be ported to the Nintendo Switch 2. Elden Ring and other games can kind of come to Switch. Imagine
playing for Elden Ring.
Yeah,
for that. Yeah.
Imagine playing Elden Rings on a handheld that doesn't burn your hands. That I'm talking to you, Steam Deck. And so with that, I'm gonna go ahead and take it over to our guest, Zach. Zach, what do you think? Give me your thoughts on what you just heard.
Well, so this is really exciting for me because I am normally a giant nerd for this stuff. But since the year has started, I have been swamped with work. And so when I asked you what was on the agenda today, and then you sent me the notes, and it was like Switch 2 leak, I was like, what? What? There's like pre-orders for a Switch 2? What's happening? Like, what's going? So it's been like 3 hours since you messaged me. So I have been freaking out for the last 3 hours. So this is super new to me. But no, yeah, that's so exciting to me because I, was a day one Switch purchase. Like I think a lot of people were who are watching this, and I love Nintendo so much, and they make the best games. And I always feel like as a Nintendo fan that like all of the problems that Nintendo has like are self-inflicted, if that makes sense. Like the third party, like they've struggled with third parties in the past, and it's just like, oh, if you could just get some more third parties like to come to the system, or like the Wii U's, everything that happened with the Wii U and the third parties, and like how powerful that machine actually was, even though like nothing was utilizing it, and it was just like you shot yourself in the foot. Like I love the Wii U, come on, like it's dying so quickly. This was my baby. And so seeing, and then remembering when the Switch first came out, you could get 1-2 Switch in Breath of the Wild. And like, that was basically it, for like the first month, 2 months, like there weren't a lot of games. And so the Switch still was such a powerhouse when it first came out. It was sold out everywhere. And you had all the, Nintendo haters which is such a weird group to me, but you had all the Nintendo haters. Oh, the Switch is only sold out because Nintendo's making an artificial shortage. And here we are all these years later. You said it's the very first time it's dropped to number 2 in the holiday season. So that is a pretty impressive artificial shortage.
It's an ancient system at this point, right? It's nuts. It's really interesting kind of just like thinking about like what people were saying back then, right? Like even like us Nintendo faithful probably weren't estimating that Switch would sell as much as it has, right? Like I don't think anyone thought that Breath of the Wild would become a 30+ million seller, because before that Twilight Princess was the best-selling Zelda game at like 8 million. Like so like the exponential increase you've seen with a lot of Nintendo games and just Switch sales, that was like all super unexpected, right? But I remember when they showed us that teaser trailer for Nintendo Switch, and there was the Mario Odyssey, there was the enhanced version of Skyrim, and there was NBA 2K. And I remember having arguments with people on the internet, and they were all saying, oh, no, all that's fake. It's just hypothetical. I'm like, no, those are real things. But there was a lot of people that just couldn't believe that Nintendo could do things like that. And now here we are arguably maybe golden age of gaming.
Yeah, I believe.
I'd agree.
I believe for Nintendo, this is the best time for Nintendo in Nintendo history, and I'm talking about all around because not only we're talking about consoles now, we're talking about games, we're talking about consoles, we're talking about movies, we're talking about theme parks. This is the golden age of Nintendo, and Nintendo is just expanding all over. They're literally cementing themselves as a global brand rather than just a gaming company, you know. And Mario is the best right now. There's surveys that say Mario is more recognized than actual Mickey Mouse all over the world. And so, you know, this is where we are with Nintendo. And
It's an interesting point,
right? And,
yeah, I guess I just kind of think about it, right? Like I don't absorb a lot of Mickey Mouse content, right?
Yeah.
And I imagine there probably is some new Mickey Mouse content out there,
Mhm.
but I don't really hear about it too often.
Yeah.
But there is always new Mario stuff coming out, right? So maybe it's the case that Mickey Mouse is just kind of old at this point, and Disney's not really pushing Mickey as much as they used to.
Yeah.
They rely on other things, but meanwhile, Nintendo, no, they're continually pushing Mario, right? And so I can kind of see how, for especially like the younger generation, where Mario perhaps is more recognizable than Mickey, as crazy as that may sound.
Oh, but Josie, I love your cup today. It's not the red one, but I approve. Huge giant cup. And with
The red one had chili in it earlier, so I haven't watched it yet.
I believe it was 1991
Uh-huh.
or 1990 that Nintendo did research and published it in Nintendo Power that Mario has become more recognizable worldwide than Mickey Mouse.
Wow, in
In
1991.
A long time.
That's quite a far ways back. I mean, you're looking at the time, that was peak Nintendo. You know, that was Super Mario Brothers 1, 2, and 3, Super Mario World on the recently released Super Nintendo, and that was Mario fever at the time. And you had serials, you had the TV show, you had movie on the horizon. So Mario did it in like 1990, 1991, if I'm not mistaken.
And Nintendo had kind of like,
Go ahead.
Nintendo had like kind of fully capitalized on the brand of gaming in the 90s too. Like, I know for me, I remember, and I know for a fact I'm not alone in this, but like when I would get in trouble and I couldn't play my video game systems, I would get grounded from Nintendo. Like that's what every single video game was Nintendo back then. Like whether it was Sega or PlayStation or Xbox, they were all Nintendo. So like I could totally see how Mario would be like kind of like the biggest brand ambassador in the world at that point, because video games had just really started to enter the public space as far as like home consoles go, and just the general access to having all of them. And every single video game from all these companies, they're all Nintendo. Like,
and I want to throw this question out to Joycey because this when it comes to I know Joycey's likes and dislikes, okay, and I know what she's focused on, and so I think this part of the conversation makes her excited because it's what she loves. Games. She loves good games.
Games, not just Zelda.
Yeah, of course, Zelda.
Yeah, games.
But I'm saying
All the games.
Zelda games.
Yeah, as long as the games are good, right? Like what games have you been playing lately?
So I've been Triangle Strategy, Tears of the Kingdom, Splatoon 3, very different games now that I think about it.
Yeah, and Joyce is not the like, oh my god, the specs, and then this no. As long as the game is good, it looks good, it plays good, that's what I love. And so Joyce, how excited are you that these developers are excited to put their games on Nintendo Switch 2, you know, compared to Switch 1 at the beginning of not even a console has not even been announced yet. This is a crazy thing. We don't even know if it's a Switch 2. What if it's just like a Nintendo's gonna move over to the smartphone? They released a smartphone and
the Nintendo 4DS.
Yeah, something, right? We don't even know what Nintendo's doing, but so far the excitement is in the air and developers are ready to put their games on there. How does that make you feel?
Great. Little story, gotta tell you all the story. I've always loved Zelda and Mario, but that was most of my life because I'm an 80s baby, I'm a 90s kid.
Yeah.
So that was kind of most of my life. Then I left gaming for a while. Then I came back in my 30s. And when Switch was being announced, was coming around, I was there for the rumor cycle and all these different things. And I said, I'm going to keep a very open mind whatever comes out, I'm going to study it. I'm going to watch every direct. I'm going to, look at everything. And I have found some huge gems and some games that have really, really have a special place in my heart. I spent all of 2023 begging everybody to please play Octopath Traveler 1 and 2. 2 came out last year. Play Triangle Strategy. Please play all the Bayonetta games. Please try something new. So when I hear that third party is coming, because Nintendo has my heart and most of my fun money, I prefer that these games come over, and also it adds to the success.
Yeah.
Because the thing we don't want to do is, no shade to Xbox, no shade whatsoever, but I kind of feel like I kind of don't like the fact that they're possibly going to be software third party only. Because it's kind of like it leaves us with one less option. I never want Nintendo to be in the position where there's now one less option. And, so I appreciate the fact that they're getting all these games. And then, like I said, it exposes people to all these different games that they wouldn't play. So it's not just Mario, Metroid, Zelda, Splatoon, just the usual. You can have fun with all these other different games that otherwise maybe some Nintendo fans may not pay attention to.
Yeah. I think you said something key there, right? About when Microsoft is kind of just focusing on software. I mean, to be honest, software is Microsoft's really strong point with Microsoft Windows. They've been working with Windows all this time. Licensing software has been their strong point, and then they move over to computers and stuff. And of course, Windows on their computer. But I agree.
The competition is good. Keeps everybody on their toes.
I don't think they're gonna get away from Xbox. I think Xbox will still stick around. I do wish they would actually have at least a couple of IPs that they keep on their system, and just kind of exclusive, because exclusive sells consoles, and having multiple consoles create competition, and competition is good for the market. So because everybody wants to outdo each other, and we get and us as customers, we end up winning because we get the best product possible, right?
Competition's good for us.
Yeah, it is.
And when it comes to gaming, when we talk about some of the bigger developers, indies too, even some of the small developers, they know they are fighting hard for your attention. Yeah. So that's what we want, because then we get all the good stuff and we get the good ideas. So that's what we want.
Yeah, I'm excited for what's happening in with these developers. The fact that 8% out of what, 3,000, Andre?
Yeah, 250 people.
Someone sent me a message. What was that last part?
3,000 people.
Over 3,000 developers,
and then 8%.
Yeah. And 8% of those 3,000 plus developers said that they have current projects for the Nintendo Switch successor.
That's crazy. And
yeah, so that's approaching. We don't know how much of 3,000, right? But it's at least over 200, right?
Yeah. And let's not beat around the bush here. They missed out on a Switch. First up, they did not know that the Nintendo Switch will be as successful as it is, and Paul can testify to this. It's on its way to beating the Nintendo DS, right? It's almost beating it in Japan. I remember Paul say that hopefully by June it's already
June 30th.
Yeah, by June 30th.
Japan, yeah.
Right, and so Paul, I listen and I learn. Right. I'm from Dr. Paul, Professor Paul. So it's just I like I said in the beginning of the podcast, this is the most exciting time to be a Nintendo fan. Okay, because Nintendo is coming to us through everything and through it out, like by theme parks, video games, and through movies. And so right now we are on the verge of possibly seeing within the next, I would say, weeks to months, because I don't know. Nintendo's Nintendo. Yeah.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah, jump in. Right, go ahead.
Okay. I'm not pretending like I know. I don't know what's going to happen, right? So I know I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you know, Joycey. Maybe you know, Paul. Maybe you know, Zach. I don't know.
He signed an NDA. He can't tell us.
No. I signed a. I'm a YouTuber. Okay? So, but there is I haven't made a video on this yet. It's just stuff that's happened, so I haven't done like full research. But apparently Christopher Dring, who works for, if I'm not mistaken, is a reporter at Bloomberg, right? So pretty reputable. Put out his own predictions. Now predictions are just that, predictions, right? Mm-hmm. They're not saying, "Oh, this is what I heard," and sometimes we like to look at people who have inside information and then making predictions and be like, oh, this is a leak, or it's not a leak. But maybe you could look at them maybe with a little bit more regard because they may be coming from an informed place, but they're still predictions, right? And so I think even in Christopher Dring's tweet, he said, oh, these are probably going to be wrong or something. But his predictions were Switch 2 reveal March, Switch 2 blowout summer, Switch 2 release September. By the way, all of those things are my predictions as well, just saying. And
Believe
Mario being the launch title in September, right? He predicted Mario Kart in October. That I doubt. But Pokemon like a graphics upgrade or cross-gen November. So I actually agree with all of that, right? Save for the Mario Kart thing. I think Mario Kart comes out is like the fiscal year ending game, March 2025, but also a prediction. We don't know. So that's all prediction stuff, right? But Necro Felipe, the editor-in-chief at Universal Nintendo, who's considered to be a pretty reliable source, replied to Christopher Dring's predictions and said that actually all sounds about right, except maybe Mario Kart. He thinks it's more of a 2025 thing. So,
maybe announced this year, but does it come out to 2025?
That's what I think.
You mean
that's my own personal speculation.
Mario Kart, right? For Mario Kart?
For Mario Kart, yeah. Everything else there I think is like totally spot on. I'm kind of hoping Switch 2 comes out sooner, but September is probably maybe September is pretty good.
Listen,
save your money.
All you gotta do is wait for March. March is not too far away. March is around the corner.
So
right.
I mean, but anyways, I brought that up simply because you mentioned when we might get an announcement or something, right? And so maybe we do get an announcement in March, which is not too far from now. And I don't know if you want me to segue, but I'll just mention that the whole pre-order thing / retailers prepping thing, right? It's not a long topic, so we can just mention it and kind of continue, right? But so, and I want to shout out this YouTube channel, Nintendo Leaks.
Yeah.
So it's a YouTube channel, right? That is a Spanish YouTube channel, right? They are from Spain. They speak Spanish. Fortunately, I'm of Cuban descent, so I know some Spanish. So I watched the video and I got to understand it. And so I noticed some creators pointing out like the obvious thing that was brought up by Nintendo Leaks, which is that there's this online retailer, Mecha Japan, which has put up a Switch 2 pre-order. You can literally go there and you can waitlist, or not waitlist, but have put yourself on the list to be notified when pre-orders come up for this. They're currently out of stock, right? But it's technically an official retailer that would be selling Switch 2, and they have official pre-orders out. So pre-orders, that's like the first one we've noticed. But Nintendo Leaks is saying that they've heard from a few retailers in Spain. It's a considered rumor because it's something that they've heard, right? Literal definition of a rumor, right?
Yeah.
But they are hearing that a couple retailers in Spain, they're not going to say who because that would be bad, NDA, all that good stuff, right? That they are preparing for Switch 2. And so he noted in his video that he got word of these retailers at the same time that this Mecha Japan put up the pre-order, right? And so the implication, Mecha Japan, Japan, right? Like that's a different part of the world than Spain. So the kind of conversation that he had a little bit of in his video is just that, well, if these things are popping up at the same time, different parts of the world, is that perhaps a sign that behind the scenes, various retailers are getting word of Nintendo gear, getting ready for Switch 2, and so they're all preparing behind the scenes. It's a rumor, right? That part of it, right, in terms of there being other retailers preparing, but there is at least one official pre-order up on a retail site. And so the reason I bring that up in relation to like a Switch 2 announcement, if retailers are indeed prepping now, right, an announcement, sometime between now and the end of the fiscal year, March 31st, is becoming it's becoming more and more like conceivable, right? Especially when you factor in that we're hearing about all of these developers that are already working on Switch 2, which when you compare it to Switch 1, seems like they're ahead of schedule. So that's exciting. To me, it's exciting stuff. So I'm waiting.
That's so exciting.
I worked in management for retail at a younger age, and I can tell you that when there's new products, we receive paperwork first. Even though if the product's months away, we receive paperwork first of of said product. Maybe it doesn't have all the information on it, but it says prepare for this shipment, this and this and this and this. And if there's website, there's a lot of information to update a website with, then they get that information ahead of time so that they can start preparing that website. Maybe some of these websites went ahead of themselves and just posted the pre-order without pictures, without the actual name, without and I saw a website that says Nintendo Switch 2. That Japan what do you call it? Japan something? The website from Japan that posted the pre-order.
I forgot the name.
Japan's. I think I posted it on the forum here. Let's see. But anyway, they just wrote Switch 2. They put, of course, the placeholder date of December 59, December 31st, 2024. But the fact is that the reason when you post a listing is because you don't have stock. You just have paperwork that something is potentially coming. And to add for the release date, I've always been on board with the March release date. I feel
release date or reveal date?
Reveal date.
Okay.
Yeah. I've been on board.
I was about to start doing some laps.
Yeah. Reveal date. Okay, reveal date, but not really March. March 31st is the last day of the fiscal year.
That's by the end. Before that point.
So I would say beginning of first week of April would be the actual reveal date.
Okay.
That first week of April. Okay. And then I wouldn't give it to September. I would say June release date. Okay. Because then Nintendo can focus on games for the holiday season and then use these games to sell its console. It just makes perfect sense because remember, Nintendo is not their console. Nintendo is their IP. And so imagine them saying, hey, we have the Mario launching with the Switch. We have Mario Kart coming out next year. We have Pokemon coming in November. That is what's going to sell the system. It's not the system itself. You know what I mean?
And don't forget Metroid.
And Metroid
There's
Prime.
been a lot of Metroid Prime 4 stuff that's come up this week.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stuff, and Nintendo's brushed it under the rug. We had a LinkedIn profile of someone saying they were working at Retro Studios and they were a QA tester, play testing since March of last year. And what I've been talking, I'm not the only person, right? But it's just something I've been talking about. That there was a rumor that myself and Nintendo Prime, Mike, you reported on it too, I think, back early last year, that hey, Metroid Prime 4, right, apparently is complete or basically complete, right? And so we weren't sure what that meant exactly, but as we kind of interpreted that it was kind of like a Tears of the Kingdom situation where they're play testing, quality testing for like a year, right? Like literally, Anuma told us that Tears of the Kingdom was done March 2022, and he used the words basically complete, and yet they were still polishing it up for the next year or so, right? And so now we have evidence, right? Not just rumor, but actual evidence that there's been playtesting going on at Retro Studios since March of last year. So it's kind of like a Tears of the Kingdom situation, except it's Metroid Prime 4 a year later.
Yeah.
Except Super Metal Day 64 made this discovery of the LinkedIn profile listing. That page no longer exists. But it wasn't just that. There's actually another thing. He had discovered that Retro Studios is a client of Next Gen Dreams, which they work with a whole bunch of assets and games, but something they do is also put together debut trailers for a lot of big games. And so Dave was speculating that maybe the reason why Retro Studios is a client of Next Gen Dreams is because they're putting a trailer together. And what happened after his video came out? Retro Studios disappeared from Next Gen Dreams website as a client. But we used the Wayback Machine just to make sure. We got the receipts. It's all there, right? But both these things disappeared after everyone talked about this week. So Nintendo is kind of brushing things under the rug with Metroid, right? And so it kind of feels like, oh, is Metroid Prime 4 about to be shown off, right? And I've been of the belief that Metroid Prime 4 has that Nintendo's trying to do something special for this game, right? They've been working on it for such a long time. And so I think Metroid is going to be a significant release this year. And I would be surprised if it's not tied into Switch 2 as well, right? So that's just like another thing, right? So we have all these Switch 2 things kind of like popping up that maybe shouldn't. We have these Metroid Prime 4 things that are popping up and maybe they shouldn't. I think that's a sign that we're kind of like at that tipping point, right? Where Nintendo has stuff to show us and they've been holding back. See, I'm a crazy man and I've been arguing for that, but people are like, nah, it's Mario, bro.
Listen, but
I don't know.
But now I'm more convinced now that I don't think Metroid is gonna be on Switch. It's gonna be on Switch too, Metroid Prime 4. Then Nintendo to appease fans from Metroid fans on Switch, they'll release a dual pack for 3 and 4 with 2 and 3, and then with 2 and 3 as a dual pack HD version, and then Metroid Prime 4 with Switch 2 for maybe October. That's what that's what could happen. Because
that feels like an October game.
Yeah, and
October is my birthday.
And it's your birthday.
It's my birthday too.
Whole month. Whole month is my birthday.
Whole month?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, mine's on 12. Only on the 12th.
I believe in partying the whole month, so why not?
Anyway, if we get both 3D Mario and Metroid Prime 4 this year, I'm gonna field day. So
IPs sell systems. That's the thing.
I've always thought that the perfect launch lineup from Nintendo would be that core game that's really awesome, Metroid Prime 4. Something that's not going to necessarily sell in the tens of millions, but being paired alongside a 3D Mario or Mario Kart to bring in the numbers. But then just in case, hopefully, the Nintendo Switch version of this game, of Metroid Prime 4, has been built so solidly for the last 5 years that it's a competent version of it. That was the base SKU. And then you could take advantage of the 145 million installed base at that point and release Metroid Prime 4 as this cross-gen game. And Mario doesn't have to be. Mario could fully be, next-gen only, and it could stand on its own. But you see that great visual distinction. And something that Andres and I were talking about just a few days ago was the possibility of what if Metroid Prime 4 is shown off at this upcoming Nintendo Direct, whether it is January 25th on the 5th anniversary of when they publicly announced that Retro Studios was taking over. That would be awesome. Or like in February 14th. Would they show off gameplay footage or kind of like just a CG trailer? Because you could say the first time you want to show it off, you might want to show it off earlier in the year, but not necessarily call it for Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2, because you might not be ready to announce Nintendo Switch 2 yet, but just show off something that looks a little bit too good, but it's known that it's a CG trailer, or it's kind of like that Tears of the Kingdom first look where it's in-game engine, but a little bit more so because you don't have to worry about controlling camera angles and
I'm kind of hoping you remember that first Tears of the Kingdom trailer we got that looked awesome.
The surprise one where we were all trying to say, wait a minute, what is this?
And that looks
the green
a little
swirls
better
with
green swirls.
Kingdom
exactly.
They looked like not a whole
exactly
lot
right,
better,
but imagine it's basically it gives you a hint to what the game is, right? And I think if we got that for Metroid Prime 4 in February, most of us would be happy. But then we get the gameplay trailer for Switch 2, but the Switch 1 version still looks pretty good. I think that's how it could kind of play out, right? If Hogwarts Legacy can sell on Switch, a Retro Studios Nintendo high quality Switch 1 version will be better than that, right? And that'll do well. But Zach, you were kind of mentioning, what if it's like a launch title? I'm curious, what are you feeling?
Yeah, so picture this, right? We're gonna lay out the scenario. We're
right.
watching the Nintendo Direct, banger after banger after banger after banger. No sign of Metroid Prime. The Direct's about to end, and then all of a sudden they say, "Oh," and they do the little thing that they like to do, where they save the big thing for the end. We have this boom, Metroid Prime 4 trailer goes. It's going ham. It's going crazy. Everybody's freaking out because we're just like, "Oh my gosh, they just sneak dropped the trailer." But that's not what they're sneak dropping, because then the Metroid Prime 4 trailer's ending, and it says, coming to Nintendo Switch 2. And then it's like, what?
And that's the reveal for the console.
Yeah, and then that's the reveal for the console.
Yeah.
That'll be crazy. That'll be insane. And then end the Direct right there.
Yeah,
I want
it just
to cry.
Let me just kind of pile on there, right? So I can kind of, I don't believe it, but man, it would be cool, right? So they do that. They do exactly as you said, right? So it ends, right? And then it's they just put the number. They don't say they don't. It's just not a sentence. It's just it's it all fades, and then you see the white text in the black screen 2024, and that fades out. Coming to Nintendo Switch, and that fades out, and that fades out. Nintendo Switch 2 fades out.
Oh,
That would be crazy.
That is how you cap a direct.
I think I can top that.
Very slow fading, by the way. So like we're like for like 45 seconds, there's no gameplay. It's just white text and black screens, and we're just like, what's going on?
And then it just
Listen,
cuts to
listen.
Miyamoto
Reaction
saying,
video.
check out tomorrow's Nintendo Direct where we reveal the Switch 2.
I
Oh my
think I can top
goodness.
it. I can top that, right? So they go out with the Metroid Prime 4 trailer, right? Then they go back to the host, and she said, "You notice that game looks a little bit better than it should. Here's why." And they dropped that trailer for the Switch 2 with just a whole bunch of games just looking amazing, and then Nintendo Switch 2 at the end. And then, what do you
The
think?
crowd goes wild.
Yeah,
You know what they should do? Everything that we just said, but they start off the direct with, space, scenery, stars. We see Samus. She's looking good, and it's coming this year. And they kind of troll us. Metroid Prime 2 remastered and Metroid Prime 3 remastered, and everyone gets all hyped up, and they don't immediately follow it with Metroid Prime 4 until 39 minutes later. Then having, by the way, there's one more. So
44
Not only
minutes
did
later,
you get
speak it
us
into
hyped,
existence.
You got us hyped up,
yeah.
and then took it way down, a cool direct, and then you give us that last thing.
You know
think
what
that
I
would be
really
awesome.
love?
I mean,
Okay.
I really like how Nintendo did it at the Game Awards back in 2017, where they did Bayonetta 1 and 2, and then here's Bayonetta 3. But this would be much more impactful because Metroid is of a higher caliber franchise. It's been around longer. We've been waiting for this particular game longer, but
Even longer, yeah.
that 1 and 2 followed by, or 2 and 3 followed by 4.
Okay. I know we're all excited. I'm even excited because I've been listening to you guys talk about it for so long. So, okay. So here's mine. And I think it's a little bit more plausible, only because I don't think that they would announce new hardware in a direct. Usually they let us know that they have a special presentation.
Yeah.
Coming out.
So,
yeah.
That's probably how it's going to go. I agree.
So how would we feel? I haven't shared this with Zach and Andres, but you guys have heard me say before, and our chat has heard me say before. We just get to the end, and it's kind of like, but before you go, here's this, whatever, or one more thing, whatever. And it's just space and beautiful greenery, and we're like, good God, how is this running on the Switch? We don't even know. And it's just finally we see Samus all decked out, and she just looks at the camera and just says, "See you soon." And then that's it. Fade to black.
They don't even tell us. They don't even tell us what it's for. Oh, I love the suspense. I love it.
Because that's the Lord speculation. We would talk
Also,
until we got
talking.
Yes.
That'd be enough.
Yeah.
With a voice actress, with an actual voice, was the head.
Well, she's had voice acting before.
Yeah, she has.
She talks in Dread, doesn't she?
She does.
One
It's
line.
mostly in Chozo, which sounds mysteriously like Spanish, which I love. But
Is that a language in the game?
Yes.
Yeah, she speaks
Chozo.
Chozo in the game. Yeah.
Okay.
I think there's the game has English, Chozo, and screaming. 3 languages.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's the
But
player
that's
who's
not even
screaming.
the only voice actor for Samus. Samus has had multiple voice acting versions. I think Other M, there was voice acting. Technically, Metroid Prime 1 had a little bit of voice acting as well, if I'm not mistaken. They depended on the version. I think there was a PAL version that had some intros. And I want to say she spoke at some point in there too, but I gotta double check.
Yeah, there was a whole thing with the very first Metroid where they had to recast the person that they were using because it was way too not for kids sounding, because that was when you were speed running and there was less armor the more times you finished, and so they switched. Thomas Game Docs did a whole video essay on all of her different voice actors and the time that she had a really weird thing in the first one, then they changed it, and it was a good decision to change it. It's such an interesting. Samus's voice acting is such a surprisingly interesting story.
Yeah.
Let her talk more in MP4. I hope she does. She's one of our, I love Bayonetta too, but she's a Nintendo IP, and this one literally is for the girls. No offense to anybody else who identifies as anything else who likes Metroid, but she's a female bounty hunter, and we need that in life. We just need that in our games, and I love it.
Oh, you didn't hear? In the new one, you should be able to choose to either be Samus or Sam. So, no, I'm just kidding.
Oh, that's
No.
Samus or Seamus.
I mean, that would
You know
actually
what?
annoy me. That would
only
annoy me.
because actually I would be cool with that. Only
Nope.
because she's an established she's an established character.
Sammy.
So we can't call her
Sammy.
anything else. Her name is
Listen.
Samus.
Listen, for me, it's all the same on both sides, right? Like for Zelda, right? Like if I'm gonna play as someone that's not Link, like I'm gonna play as Link, right? Like if we want to have a spin-off with Zelda, that's fine, right? But it's got to be like a different style of game. Princess Peach Showtime, I'm down with that, but
Yeah.
it's not a traditional Super Mario game, right? And so you want to introduce a male character in the Metroid universe, I'm fine with that as well. But I'm still playing as Samus in the main Metroid games, right? Like technically Federation Force, you play as a whole bunch of random Federation dudes, and I'm okay with that as long as it's a separate thing and we still have our Samus main character playing, your traditional Metroid games. Like I'm okay with, doing different things, but when there's already an established role, character, and lore, don't butcher that. Keep it as is, and then just do something new.
This isn't create your own character. This is an established character. That's all we're saying.
Right.
So
Maybe for the games versus mode for multiplayer, then you can.
yeah.
But I do.
Oh
wanna
yeah,
just-
that's different.
Since we're on a little Metroid talk right here, I might have shared this before. I don't know. Well, I'll share it now because when they do this whole trailer drop for Metroid Prime 4, I also hope they use the following strategy. If you have a saved file of Metroid Dread or Metroid Prime, that save file will carry over and unlock Metroid Dread, her Samus outfit from that game in Metroid Prime 4. The classic OG Metroid Prime suit in Metroid Prime 4. Just to get as a free way, it's an easy way to piggyback off of the anticipation for Prime 4.
Yeah.
And spurring up a few tens of thousands of more sales into Dread and Prime, and just works so easy. Works so
All
easy.
the
I would love to.
And amiibo.
If you yes, that's what I was about to say. You can use your different amiibo to get different armor patterns. Like that would be cool. Like a Yoshi armor pattern on her, and like, yeah, I think that would.
And
be
what
sick.
if it unlocks like some psycho boss or something like that? I was thinking about it last night when we were talking about Zelda. Andre and Paul were there. It was Twilight Princess with the Wolf Link amiibo that opens another level in Twilight Princess, which is the Cave of Ordeals. I think it was 50 levels? I think it was 50 levels in the Gerudo Desert, and you have to go straight through. You get a resting point or a fairy point like every 10 levels, and you would think it's easy because Zelda enemies aren't that bad. But when there's 50 of them coming at you in a small room that's extremely dark and you're running out of resources.
Metroid is kind of like a horror game in a way, right? It is.
Yeah, it's straight up Alien. Yeah, I love it.
They shoot at you from out of nowhere. I had fun playing Metroid Remastered. Like I didn't play the first Metroid, but Metroid the remastered version was really good.
That would be a good amiibo incentive, and
warming my
people
heart.
like Andre who are real hardcore fans and Paul would like eat that up, and I would buy it just because I like amiibo.
So my brother-in-law does speedrun Super Metroid, and I haven't checked what his number is lately, but last I checked, he had just crossed like the top 60, I think, for in the world for like the any percent speedrun. So
Nice.
shout out to him just because we're talking about Metroid.
I slow run Metroid. I'm like, it takes forever to get I can get the record in that one, the slow run, But last pitch. Okay, do you guys remember the rumors about the bigger fields that they're going to be in Metroid Prime 4? Like there are going to be big fields out there, a la Call of Duty. Like there's massive maps.
Halo Infinite was the comparison.
Yeah, Halo Infinite. Yeah, so Halo Infinite, there's big maps out there.
Not necessarily open world, but
semi.
big.
Yeah, like
Big
open zone.
big open-ish, whatever that actually means. That's what supposedly the Xbox Era podcast heard.
So the trailer starts like this. It's dark, it's stormy, it's like all like rainy and stuff like that. It was a dark and stormy night, something like that, right? And all of a sudden, kind of the camera pans and looks at all the mess and all the wreckage, and pans up, and you can see shooting in the shooting and a whole bunch of chaos going on, and you can hear the gunshots just, and you hear the metro. Are they called Metroids, like the monsters? They're Metroids.
There's
right?
one enemy
Which
that's
ones?
Metroid.
This is one Metroid, right? But
Well, the thing is, there are
Race,
different kinds of
speaking.
Metroids.
yeah.
But like there are different kinds of Metroids. But if it has suckers, it's probably and it floats around and with a blob, it's probably a low level Metroid. Yeah.
So what's happening is that all this time it's a person walking and looking at everything and listening to something. All of a sudden, something comes on the radio. Help! We need help! And all of a sudden, Samus comes. I'm on my way.
Fade to black.
It's a black. Metroid Prime 4.
I mean,
We
that's kind of cool.
we
Like
just
we don't
want
even
something.
realize.
But it's showing.
I love that idea. Actually, like if we see like a really cool scene, it's like a battlefield or of destruction, and then at first you're not even sure what it is, right? You're thinking it might be like some sort of random, like just realistic shooting game or whatever, or not even necessarily shooting, but it's just like a horrendous scene. And then eventually you start to see, you see like corpses or people suffering, and you just see like these things floating around, and you realize, oh, that's a new Metroid variant.
Yeah.
And then you hear Samus at the end. Like that would be. That's literally a teaser. That is teasing more than that. That's a good teaser. I like it.
Wait, let me add to that. Instead of it being a Metroid, so it's not obvious, I would love it if they had introduced maybe a new enemy that you guys haven't seen before. Forgive me, I haven't played Metroid for those who don't know. And you have, and it's just somebody new, and it's just like, what the heck is this? Is this third party? Like, is this a new IP? What's going on? And then you hear Samus or you see her. And then it's just fade to black, and it's like we'll take it. We'll take it.
They actually did something like this for Bayonetta 3 when they
Exactly.
Because at
You're
first,
in my
like,
head.
what is this game? Like the first few 15, 20 seconds. I don't remember the exact time, but it was
We
a
thought
little
it was
while.
Astral Chain 2.
Well, at first we didn't know what, but you're right. We saw the Astral Chain thing. We're like, oh, it's Astral Chain. But then we saw the reflection, and we're like, oh wait, no. Oh,
You hear
no.
the witch chime first. I have that trailer memorized.
Hardcore
Don't judge
Bayonetta
me.
fan right here.
So,
You should do a
gorgeous.
Bayonetta cosplay.
listen,
Have
I'm
you done a Bayonetta cosplay?
Who's the cosplay?
Have I done Bayonetta cosplay?
Yeah.
That's like my every other Tuesday outfit. Oh wait, you weren't talking to me. Oh, this is awkward.
Okay, I'm gonna go to
I
Zach's
was
house and
talking
borrow
to
his
you. I
outfit.
actually was talking to you, Zach. But Joyce, if you've also done it, that's cool.
Thank you.
So with that, Switch 2 is imminent. Like that word, people don't like that word, imminent, right? Because it means like any moment, right? That's what it means. We could hear about it any moment, right? So
Yeah, but it's still technically a relative term.
yeah.
In
So-
fact, let me check my Twitter, make sure Nintendo didn't announce. Oh wait, they're sleeping in Japan. Never mind.
But you know what? Let's go ahead.
Call your cousin Miyamoto and just ask him.
Like
You wanna do-
you could argue that the California fault line or whatever is going to like break eminently. That's still like 50 to 100 years from now.
Oh yeah.
It's all relative, right?
Any moment, any second now. So segue to basically this is also Nintendo Switch 2 kind of shadowy, kind of theme, but for the first time in Nintendo Switch history, we got a holiday sales where Nintendo was number 2 in the market when it comes to holiday sales in December and stuff like that. So I want to bring it over to Paul. This is the last topic of the podcast, so they can kind of figure out why it's happening. And I know Nintendo president Shintaro Furukawa, he said that they don't want to fall off a cliff. They want to make sure that they kind of transition in a way that we're still selling well, but that kind of transitions to the next console and continue to sell well. I don't know how they're gonna do that unless they do a price reduction to the Switch so that they can pick up in sales and then announce a new Switch. But Paul, what are the numbers and what are your thoughts about Nintendo falling to number 2?
Yeah, Circana, which is formerly NPD Group, led by Matt Piscatella, who gives us the information on Twitter/X. He revealed that United States' December totals went, PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch, Xbox Series, and that the overall year of 2023 was also in that same order. So that's by no means bad. I mean, for as many of the months where Nintendo or other people, not necessarily Nintendo fans, just gamers in general, we'll call them, were criticizing, oh, Nintendo lost this month. They were second. it's not a situation of being bad. The only real generation, maybe 2 generations, where second place was so far considered bad was PS2 versus GameCube and Xbox. 157 million versus 24 and 22. That wasn't a good time to be second or third. Likewise, bring N64 versus PlayStation and Sega Saturn, 100 million versus 33 and 10. That wasn't a good time to be second and third. In this last year, Nintendo Switch did win a couple of months in the United States where they were first place. Despite being a 6+ year old system, they did pull off a couple of first place victories in US. But in the months that they were second, which was most, guess what? That's still second, which is more than third. And people aren't complaining that Xbox is, they're third, yet they were complaining Nintendo. I think it's some people that just want to see the leader fall or want to see their favorite system win. So it's kind of like on sports, you start to dislike the team that's winning all the time because your team's not winning, and that makes you dislike the champ. And that's just sort of a simple analogy of, kind of how that mindset works. But Nintendo had.
Yeah, I hope no one dislikes you, Zach.
The reality of December was, Nintendo lost. So their 6 consecutive year win streak, which is an industry record, no console has ever been more than 5. And Nintendo Switch did 6, claiming December's in 17 all the way through 2022. So that streak has ended, but that also is really impressive and probably not something that's going to be beaten for a long time because, PS5 won this past December. If Nintendo Switch's successor comes out this year, it's very likely to win it. Even if not, by 2025, it would win that December, So it's going to be a while before someone's able to get 6 in a row. Anyways, what are the numbers? It's around this 1.6 million for PS5 in the month, something like 1.3 for Nintendo Switch, and 1.15 for Xbox Series. That's the rough approximation. That also means that Nintendo Switch has sold somewhere north of 6 million for that quarter, which is impressive, and that brings it up to somewhere around 138.5 million. So they're very close to reaching that 15 for the fiscal year, which ends March 31st. And right around then, they'll be at 140 million, selling their 15 that they were expecting, maybe a little bit more. Software, they're as of mid-December, they were very close to that 1.2 billion. Whether they hit it or not, they'll be very close to it, or they will have just barely passed it. That's also very impressive. The system's doing just fine. I think we talked about this in last week's podcast. Here in Nintendo Switch's 7th year, it's about to turn 7, but this was its 7th year. It did about 15 million. That's 3/4 of the GameCube's whole life.
That's great.
So the GameCube only did 21. That is half of Nintendo 64's whole life. That system only did 32. And it did 15 or 16 by the end of it in its 7th year. And that's why they haven't just been in a rush. They've got software to sell, but they don't want to do what they've done kind of too often to admit, and that is burn out at the end, have this year gap of nothing, and then release the next console and have lost that steam and momentum. But that's not happening this time around. It's still so strong that they're just going to have this most beautiful transition, I think, in the company's history into that next gen. And that's basically it on hardware. Oh, well, software-wise, we did find out something a little bit interesting. I'll make this one quick. Hogwarts Legacy is probably the best-selling game of the year in the United States. However, Circana does not have access to Nintendo's digital eShop numbers, and Tears of the Kingdom without digital is number 5. So with digital, which Nintendo will eventually give us, could possibly have topped Hogwarts.
Yeah, I think digital sales is probably more significant than people realize.
That game was like very close to 50-50 when it came out. Now I imagine as time went on, maybe physical would have led during the holiday months, but then again, I don't expect the holiday to be monumental either. I think it sold fine. I have one number that I know that it cleared 400,000, but just how much more than that
in just the U.S. during the holidays.
And digital sales are, I'm pretty sure, a lot more than the physical. Their digital sales are overcoming everything, and that sadly, that's why
Very
sadly that's why stores are getting rid of their physical media.
Sure.
Best Buy just ripping everything apart, and
I do think Paul brings a good point though, because I do feel like in the holidays physical would pick up because you have people shopping for gifts, right? That's why the holidays have the increased sales. And so
parents are
hey, I bought you that eShop card, like maybe, but
stocking, it's stocking.
or a lot of parents savvy enough to go, oh, I'm going to get this voucher for $100 and then like put that on the system and stuff. Not to discredit them, but most people, do have a reason to go to GameStops and Best Buys and Targets and stuff like that.
I have a rebuttal for that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because my whole thing is, we're the parents now. I don't have kids, thank God.
Tears of the Kingdom.
But yeah, we're the parents now, so I think parents have a better idea, even if they don't know how to work the system. Y'all know I'm computer illiterate, for the most part. But I think they have a better idea of what they're looking for, because they're like, oh yeah, I grew up with Nintendo. I had a Nintendo as a kid, or my friends have Nintendo. I know what to look for, that kind of thing. So I don't know if we can do the whole parent excuse anymore.
I would agree with you there too, because I know specifically my sister was like, I just want eShop gift cards, and my parents are in their 60s, and the stores now, just like the Amazon gift cards, they have the gift card station right where you check out, and so it is a lot easier.
Yeah.
Physical is king and will always be king in my heart.
Yes,
but I think
it's also outside of your heart.
Yes.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I have to have a little Joycey rant. Y'all forgive me, bear with me, get your water.
Maybe a cup of coffee here.
I've touched on this, and I think I talked a little bit about it last week, but guys, as long as we can, all of you out there, you with fabulous hair, please continue to buy physical. Let me explain something to you. My generation also is the generation that basically destroyed the music industry. Destroyed, okay? Because we figured out a way to download music illegally and then share it. And then we figured out how to stream.
What do you call it?
Napster.
What's the other one?
LimeWire.
LimeWire.
Yeah, we're the ones who figured out how to do that. And yes, I know there's game piracy and emulation. I get that, but nobody wants to go and hang out at a CD store and get excited and meet their favorite artist and sign autographs, all that kind of stuff. Y'all don't understand. The 90s were a time you really had to be there. Yeah. So buy your physical games as much as possible. I know digital is convenient. It's easy. You just download it and, you come back and
Huzzah.
And it's just there. But please buy physical, or do like me when it comes to Zelda, just double dip.
Yeah, double dip. Yeah, I do that too. I buy physical. I have like 5 games physically and I have like 100 digitally. Sorry, my bad. I'll be better now from now on. But this is the thing, guys. As digital increases and physical reduces, physical will become more expensive because it'll be Nintendo. Didn't Nintendo just kind of stop producing a whole bunch of games there, and these physical games are going to be overpriced now when you look them up on any store online. Like if I want to buy a Paper Mario Origami King, a game that apparently is leaving print, then that game is not going to be more expensive physically. And so, the less physical we have, the more expensive it gets to produce. And so, I mean, it's something we have to think about. One more thing, guys. One more thing. We are at the end of the podcast. I'm about to introduce one more time the cast, so you guys can go ahead and check them out. But one more thing. Nobody's talking about this. Nintendo Switch. This is the last fiscal year, right? There's a point eventually when Nintendo will stop producing Nintendo Switch and continue with Switch 2. And you notice how retro consoles, they sell a lot, right? They if you have the box, they sell a lot. Now, if you are a gaming investor, if you like to invest, now is the time to get your Nintendo Switch in the box, right? Get your Switch, save it, buy a couple, save it, and keep it as a collector's edition. Later on, it'll increase in price because the Nintendo Switch is an amazing console. It's Nintendo's first handheld hybrid console, and we expect every other console to move forward. This is not legal advice or financial advice. This is my personal advice. Just to make sure don't waste your life savings, But it's something to look forward to because right now, if I want to buy a GameCube, I would like to buy a GameCube that has all its parts in the box. I'm gonna have to spend $500 on the GameCube. Believe it or not, if I'm gonna buy a GameCube, if I'm gonna buy a Nintendo, Super Nintendo, even more. If I want to buy a Nintendo 64, even more. So retro consoles, they increase in price over time, and I think Nintendo Switch is gonna be one of those consoles that once Nintendo stops making them, forget it. And now,
And to piggyback off of what Mike is saying, I was just thinking I have 2 collector's editions for Tears of the Kingdom that I have not opened. They're actually still in the Best Buy bag.
And I will take one of those. I will take
in the closet. I think I'm going to hang on to them. I don't anticipate being in any kind of money trouble, but it would be kind of cool to show. Well, I already have great grandnieces and nephews, or great nieces and nephews, but when they have kids, it'll be really fun to show that off to them at that point.
Anybody here has had a console that they bought brand new from the past that they wish they still had with their box, with their manuals?
God, yes. My Super Nintendo.
You can actually look at the trends where as the generation grows up to get buying power that played a specific game, that increases in price. And so Nintendo NES consoles and Super NES consoles are actually lower in price now than they have been in the last few years because N64 has been the one that has increased in price the most recently, and now we are starting to transition to higher priced GameCube. So that means within 6-7 years from now, Wii games are going to start going up in price because the kids who grew up with Wii are going to have buying power. And so you can see that with every single console that rise, and then it starts to drop. It stays high because they're old and rare, but specifically when the generation who play them are in their late 20s and 30s, that is when the price of that console reaches its all-time high on the reseller market.
Listen to Zach because he's right. Look at them. I'll show you something, guys. I'll show you something. I grew up on that up there. Let's see if you guys can see it. You guys see it?
That's where you grew up?
Right in the middle.
Man, you must have had quite the growth spurt.
I didn't grow up on a shelf. I didn't grow up on a shelf. I grew up on that.
Like on a shelf.
That centerpiece right there on top of the top shelf. Ignore the PlayStation box. The centerpiece. That's.
It's a glare on it. We can't really see it.
I can see the PS5 to the left. I see the Mario doll. There's something with the Nintendo logo. Is that the Zapper box?
Is
that the NES with the Zap? It's a whole bundle.
That's the bundle with the
Nice.
Zapper. Okay, original.
And what's that Zelda thing to the right?
Paul Rudd is in the commercial.
Is that my guy Daruk in the background? Is that a Breath of the Wild collector's edition?
I'll do
brother.
I'll do a room tour too. But
no, you have to tell us what the Zelda thing is.
Oh,
like seriously, Mike, you have to tell us.
It's Breath of the Wild 3.
It's a collector's box.
Breath of the Wild 3. Link and Zelda break up.
Oh,
wait, when did they get together?
At the end of
Breath of the Wild.
If you unlock all the memories, you get the eternal falling flower petals, which they say represents true love, and that happens during a wedding earlier in the game. You don't get that ending unless you unlock all the memories, and that's the only ending where they walk together side by side versus one ahead or one behind.
Ooh,
I never realized the petal symbolism. That's interesting.
I'm gonna have to go back.
It was not
Nintendo Black Crisis and Zeltec did a series together, or they both did a video, and it's like a 3-part series, but it breaks down her diary. Zelda straight up says she loves Link in her diary.
I think it's blatantly obvious, right? Like I think there's that pedal thing's a really cool little detail, but it's like it's what is it, the straw that broke the camel's back? Like there's mounting evidence of something going on between them in Breath of the Wild. And
Bolson says it at Hudson and Rodson's wedding. Oh God, their names all end in son. Oh God.
Yep.
But he says it because he's the one that's throwing the flower petals when they say after they say their vows.
Wow.
Which are all about making sure their children's name end in son as well.
It would be really funny if there was a sister town where everyone's name ended in like Otter.
Go sit in the corner, Andre.
Oh, I love it.
Well, Well, in this imaginary Breath of the Wild 3, that'll never happen.
Where's my
But that would be Breath of the Wild 3. They break up. Cue the Adele music.
I'm looking for the
And then like the whole quest is them trying to get back together. Nobody wants that. I'm
Link,
kidding.
You must not find me this time.
I hate you.
anyway, you can tell we're all out of conversation, right?
We're so tired too. I worked all day.
That is the end of the podcast, guys. I want to give a huge shout out and thanks. So, Paul Gale Network, you can find Paul Gale Network. Paul, where can we find you? I
am on YouTube. I just put up a new Mighty Morphin Power Rangers video where I transformed from basic Tommy into Tommy wearing this new Power Rangers Green Ranger jumpsuit. So if you like Power Rangers at all, check it out. And if you haven't seen my Super Nintendo retrospective on what is the meaning behind the buttons on the controller, that's a pretty interesting little 10-minute video that a lot of people seem to not have known about certain details. And I'm also on Twitter/X at Polygale Network there as well.
Nice. Take it away, Joycey.
Hey, I'm Joycey. I'm just a crazy old lady who loves video games. You can find me on Twitter at DJ Joycey.
And here at the Nintopics Podcast. And,
here too. I forgot I'm here. I just feel like I'm at home with my family.
Yeah. And Andre Restart, where can we find you?
You can find me in the cosmos because I'm gonna be dreaming. All right, Andres Restart. You can find me at Andres Restart on YouTube. That's where I make Nintendo videos pretty much literally every day. I've been taking breaks on weekends, but I'll still put out like some little thing. But yeah, every day we talk about Nintendo. We do a lot of news, speculation, and theory videos. When there isn't any games to make theory videos on, we make theory videos on the news. But yeah, news and speculation, analysis, investigation. That's what I do.
Yeah, I think Andres Restart is the best channel for theories, investigation, and theories. You're gonna have a rash over this, so go ahead, check out Andre Restart. And Zach Hendricks, the great champion of Nintendo. Where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter or X at YoungCalfZach, on YouTube at Zach Hendricks Media, or on Instagram at Zach Hendricks Voiceovers. As you see, I need to work my brand consolidation.
Yeah.
You can just scan this thing,
That's
and that
cool.
has
Yeah.
everything of mine. But yes, I am on a break from YouTube right now while I figure out the new direction that I want to go and record videos and edit videos. But so there's not much going on over there, but that is my favorite platform that I'm on.
And hopefully you can see more of Zach here on the Nintopics Podcast. He has a lot to
love to be back.
Yeah, man.
Please come back next week.
Next week.
Every week.
And of course, you can find me here at the Odyssey every single day, Monday through Friday videos. I got some videos coming tomorrow. One video tomorrow that I did a really funny experimental video yesterday where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to cover PlayStation news. I did one PlayStation video news. I think it had like 60 views within like 3 hours. 60 views in 3 hours. I'm like, okay, that never happened. That just never happened. I deleted that video.
You gotta start somewhere.
I deleted that video. I stopped that. Yeah, that never happened. And I moved forward. So guys, if you saw the video, you dreamt about it. It never did happen. Okay, so forget about that. Anyway, so moving forward, the Nintopics Podcast, Monday through Friday news, and I'm doing more basically, what do you call those kind of videos? Not theory
unboxing.
No, not theory videos, but
video
more
essays,
speculation, and just kind of what ifs video. In the world of Nintendo, kind of giving myself a little bit more break when it comes to editing, because for news videos, the editing is a little more intrusive. When I'm talking about just random stuff or a regular topic, I can rest my eyes a little more when it comes to the editing. So you'll have a more general Nintendo kind of thing going on here. Right now, I'm on Nintendo Direct mode. I believe it's coming on the 7th. I think it's going to be one of the biggest, most important Nintendo Directs ever for Nintendo Switch, and it's last. And who knows? I will shave my eyebrow, literally the right half of it. Not all of it, because my wife will kill me, but half of it if we don't see Metroid Prime in that.
Ooh.
Okay, so
We'll take that bet.
If we don't see Metroid Prime at all, then I'm like this one right here, like half of it is leaving.
Wow.
So in the direct or in this year?
In the direct.
In the February direct, he's saying. So the first direct
What
of the
happens?
year.
What happens if there's not a direct in the February? In February, what do you do then?
Well, I can't shave. Well, I can't shave my eyebrows because
No,
nice.
you have
that
to
would be
because there's still no Metroid then.
you're right. If there's no Metroid announcement or anything in February related to Nintendo, then I'll do the little.
that's
teaser.
rough. You should definitely advertise that bet.
I'll do that. I will do that. I'm so sure we'll see Metroid. And I'll leave it there. We'll find out. We'll find out. On top of that, I'll wear the Donkey Kong costume too. Okay, I'll wear it because I saw it in the chat. I'll wear it too. I'm not gonna dress as Princess Zelda.
No, he's not. No, we're not doing that.
All right, guys.
Y'all, let's go.
That is the podcast. Thank you so much to all of our co-hosts that are here today, and thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are amazing. We'll see you in the next podcast next week here live, and we will be talking about whatever happens in the week because so far anything can happen in the world of Nintendo, right? So before we let you go, we got two things we need to let you know. Number one, what is it, Andre? What is it, Andre?
I can't. What's going on?
He don't know.
I
thought the show was ending.
I know it's ending. We have two things to let people know before we let them go. We got two things to let you know. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well,
number one was
you gotta just never give up, fight to the end, and Metroid Prime 4 is gonna be the GOAT.
This is not a Rocky movie. It's like fight to the end.
Facts.
Yeah. And number two, Paul, take it away.
Journey on.
Journey on. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me see if I can find that Nintopics podcast team. That's not it.
Oh no, I did it too early. Now I have to either commit and keep the peace sign up or put it down awkward.
All right. Watch this. Watch. It's not happening. There's no ready.
Oh no, I was too early.
It happened. Look, the balloons. No freezing.
Nice.
And the
There we
thumbs
go.
up. Thumbs up. Thumbs up. Look at that. And no freezing. Take that, Nate. You're watching. All right.
Still live too.
Good night, guys.
Bye,
Bye, everybody.
Night.
Peace out.